Hey guys, Jay Hoyt here. Before we get into today's video, we've been telling you guys that we're getting so close. I think we're still 2 subscribers away from 250 on the channel. So if you are brand new here or you just haven't yet, make sure to hit the subscribe button. And as always guys, enjoy the video. What's on guys? Jay Hoyt back with you. Today, welcome back to Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2. We are back here on Mercado Hardpoint in ranked play. I know Modern Warfare 3 is just around the corner, but before we get there, we got a few more gameplays to use, a few more videos to make before we hit the ground running in the next game. But who's not getting a running start into the next game is according to a few CDL teams here. Now, I think we are about, I think it's a week or so from the game launch, right? From Modern Warfare 3, we are a week away, or a week or so away from the new game, and we still have 3 teams that do not have a single active player signed. Now, you may be thinking, oh, maybe it's like just because they're having issues or whatever. And like, I don't even know. So we have the 3 teams are the Carolina Royal Ravens, the LA Guerrillas, and then the Vegas Legion. So what's really interesting throughout this entire, process here, Carolina Royal Ravens just rebranded from London. The Vegas Legion rebranded from Paris. And now we are stuck here with an LA Guerrillas team who has been around since the start, but hasn't really been too competitive. They have been sort of, not really. Like, they had their moments, but they never really were consistently at the top. So, being one of the LA teams, you kind of expect them to do good things there, and they're just kind of not. But what was really interesting about this whole process is I saw it on Reddit. Of course, you guys see it on your screen. But they said there's a real chance that the Los Angeles Guerrillas do not field a team this year. And that, I don't really know what this second part means, but then there's precedent with Activision Blizzard Esports. So what the actual message says is, I keep seeing discussion about who LAG will pick up. But to me, I think LAG will end up finding nobody. They simply just won't participate in the league this year. For those unaware, last year in the Overwatch League, so another esport, the season started with 19 teams instead of 20. The Chengdu, I don't know who that is, but the Chengdu Hunters did not field a team and ended up folding their operations entirely. Rumors that the parent organization went bankrupt, so they could not fund operations for their esports side. So, kind of makes sense. But what else do they have to say? Sound familiar? This situation is not far off of what LAG's parent company, The Guard, is going through. They've dropped out of Valorant despite making franchising, and earlier this year reduced their staff to bare minimum. It's also known that they've been looking for a buyer for all their teams, and no reports have come out about a buyer. To me, it looks like they have completely left esports with no social media posts from any Guard account since the end of September. My guess is they saw what Chengdu did and decided to do the same. I think that overall we will end up having 11 teams in the league this year. So here's the weird part about this, right? So we've talked so many times about what the CDL has done wrong and what we think they could do to right the ship, if you will. And this is kind of a real thing in esports right now, is if you don't have the money and if you're not, putting up results, you're kind of just going bankrupt. And all these companies and these organizations and these teams are now left with basically the roster, and that's kind of it, right? Then there's like one, kind of representative from, the team that's like, all right, we kind of got to go through you to get back to the parent organization. And this is where it's really interesting. Now, I'm not sure, exactly about LAG's situation by any means, but from the outside looking in, or the outside looking, as a broad view here, it seems like a lot of these organizations or a lot of these teams, or a lot of esports teams in general, always get these parent companies who always see an organization that need money, but they know how to run it, but then the money is there by these other teams or organizations, so then the people with the money just buy the team, and then they cut everybody who knows what they're talking about and what they're doing and how to run an esports team, or a Call of Duty team, Overwatch, whatever league team. They know how to do that, but then the money is like, all right, well, now we don't need you because we have our own people, and then you put in people that don't know what they're doing, and then it just seems like that's just becoming more and more of a thing where the money's there, but the people that know how to run stuff is not. And I feel like, as much as esports needs money behind it to invest in it and to grow this and everything, you also have to have the people in place that know how to run, the teams, and know how to, create money for themselves, and know, the best way to do things around esports, and the best way to do it, especially around Call of Duty, where, you have kind of like a top 4 teams being Optic, FaZe, LA Thieves, and maybe like Toronto Ultra, and maybe like New York Subliners, but the rest of the teams, like your Minnesota Rocker, your Breach, your Surge, even now the Miami Heretics, so now you have a new organization there, so obviously they've been in the scene before, so hopefully they don't just run that, down and not really do too much of anything. But the London Royal Ravens, LA Guerrillas, the Vegas Legion, I mean, I don't think there's any original, Call of Duty franchises behind those, if I remember correctly. Obviously Optic is Optic, right? FaZe is FaZe. LA Thieves is 100 Thieves. You have those types of teams, but then you also have, again, just the money, and then it just doesn't really make sense. So I don't understand how we are, a week away from the game launching, and yet we don't even have, a player or two or a coach or nothing signed, right? That's just really worrying to me. That also, Ben reached out to me and was like, bro, how are these guys don't even have a team yet? And it's like, well, I was like, there's two things. Either they don't care enough to sign a team, or they don't want to pay their players for the few months that it would take to kind of hold on to them, sign them to a contract, and they don't have to pay that money until the game actually drops, until you actually need them. And then it's like, well, that's kind of screwed up where, some players probably are trying to figure out their season plans here, or figure out teams for either challengers, or, try to get on one of these pro teams. And you're just kind of left here with 3 teams that don't have anything. And this is kind of worrying. Really, really worrying that if they don't end up fielding teams, then what happens? But I mean, we could go into a full-blown discussion and kind of, like a brainstorming, idea session of, if these 3 teams don't get rosters or don't participate this year, then you could definitely, have a conversation of what could you do? Could you incorporate challengers teams, or this or that or whatever? And then that'd be a whole kind of another can of worms, if you will, to kind of figure that out or even talk about it. But I think for now, I mean, I am very much disappointed to see that there's 3 teams out of this entire CDL that don't have anyone signed, right? That's just very, very sad to see, and hopefully it gets figured out really soon. But that's going to do it for today's video. If you did enjoy, hit the like button down below. I know I mentioned it at the start of the video, but I'm going to mention it one more time if you haven't yet. Or if you're brand new here, we are 2 subscribers away from 250 subscribers here on the channel. That really helped me out and be very much appreciated. And as always, guys, we'll see you in the next one.